If it doesn't work right, I'm just going to be the local crackhead that thinks he knows how to work on a transmission. Well, I'm starting to tear down on my 4l80 for Project Blackie. And this is a transmission I know really nothing about. Looking in the pan, it doesn't look that bad. That is also upside down. Oil's a little brown looking. Don't see anything majorly wrong. Well, I need to get the valve body off. Plug the wire loom. Take that pressure line off, and then I can start pulling the guts out and see what kind of shape the clutches are in and all that good stuff. Well, I got the 4l80 tore apart, and as I was looking at it to inspect the condition or see what kind of condition it's in, found a couple problems. Mostly some bushings that were a little on the loose side. The sun shaft bushings are fairly loose. As you can hear the slop, but it's past the specs, so I have 2 new bushings to put in there. And I'm going to put a new bushing in there. And I redid the forward drum. Put brass thrust washers in it instead of plastic ones, which there was one right there. It's just laying here somewhere. Right there is plastic. You do not want those in your transmission for performance usage. There's a possibility they can melt. That one is plastic. And some of them, this one is plastic. This one had a brass one in it. I stuck all new brass thrust washers in it. And in the reaction carrier, this one was plastic. I stuck a new metal or brass thrust washer in it. This is the original tail shaft, so I stuck a new one in it. And what else? I did the direct drum. Put a 34 element sprag in it, which had a 16 in it. It's got 6 clutches in it now. Had 5. It has a Turbo 400 piston in it. High rate return springs. Turbo 400 style spring plate, which is way better than the original 4l80 flimsy stuff. Which is right here. Which has a bunch of holes in it and it's thinner. It's weaker, so doing a performance build, get rid of those. At least in the direct. Forward doesn't really matter. It is not a shifting clutch. Once you're in forward gear, it's compressed. That shifts as you're, that's spinning one direction, and then it comes to a complete stop and shifts the other direction, and that's what the sprag does. Make sure that always turns that way. If you stick it in backwards, it turns that way, and your tranny will lock up. The intermediates, all the clutches, this tranny had been rebuilt. The clutches were in good condition, but I did have to add one clutch to that. And it has all thick steels in it, 90,000 steels instead of 70. And the band looked good, usable. The pump I need to change pressure regulators. The input shaft was decent, looked good. All the other bushings were good besides these two sun shaft bushings and that bushing. They're on the loose side. Let's see. So we do some mods to that. And what else? Oh, the intermediate plate. I used a Turbo 400 in it because it's thicker. This is a 400 center support. This was out of a parts train that had water in it, but there's my array selection of pistons. I just happened to have one that was out of a factory 6 clutch direct drum for Turbo 400. It was the roller clutch style instead of the sprag style, so that worked perfect. Didn't have to turn them down on the lathe to get the correct thickness on it. And what else? There you can see the Turbo 400 return spring plate. Also too, on these two drums I put new seals in them. I dual fed the direct clutch, which is leaving out the center seal on the piston. And drilled a hole in it, 60 thousandths hole in there here on the side. I believe it came out right there. And getting where they need to check in play in the tail shaft and the stack height, all the pistons or drums together. And that should just about do it for now. I need to get these bushings replaced in the sun gear and do this one. And I'll be back. I got the bushings cut out of the sun gear shaft. That's what I used. Die grinder with a round ball carbide cutter on it, and that works perfect because when it gets down there to where it's just about cut through, it grabs it and spins it right out. So that's done. Back to the transmission. The sun gear shaft itself is on a hot plate getting warmed up to help the bushings go in, and the bushings themselves are in the freezer getting frozen to shrink them up to help them go in. And that might not get them all the way in, but you can use a bushing driver and put them the rest of the way in. And the problem with these, since the bushings are so small, when you try to start off with a bushing driver, you can cock them off to the side and they get distorted. So you can get them halfway in, or a quarter way in. That's better than trying to beat them in and cock them off to the side, and then they're usually distorted and they're too tight. Then you gotta hone them or file them or whatever you need to do to make them work. It's just a little tip to help install your bushings. Well, I got the rear end plate checked and it's within specs. So, get the brass bushing there. And there's the brass bushing inside there. Instead of the plastic one. So all this is ready to go in. Did bevel the rear hole, there's no white case bushing. So that's where I'm at. Yeah, okay, got the rear seal in, little snap ring in, and the rear assembly should be ready to go in along with the center support. And the rear part of the transmission should be done. Okay, working on the 4L80 again. Got some turbulator or turbolator or whatever the hell they call these things. Steels for the overrun clutch. And for the 4th gear clutch. These holes in it make it the turbulator or turbolator steels. Supposed to be a good upgrade in the older tranny. This is a 94 tranny. I stuck a fluted bushing in there. I also drilled that hole bigger. It's the lube hole. Got the pressure regulator out, the boost valve, springs and all that good stuff. I have a Sonax one to put in there. I have the self-regulating style, which I don't know if that's a good thing to put that in or not. That's what's going in it. The pump gears, which looked alright. The pump bushing is junk, as you can see. And I sort of looked at it before I started this build and I thought it was good, and after I split the pump in half, I noticed that it was junk. And the reason I had the pump split is to drill this little teeny tiny hole down in here. Probably can't see it, but I recommend doing that. There you can kind of see that. I haven't cleaned it out yet, but it needs a good cleaning. It was 55 thousandths hole. I broke one drill bit trying to do it. But luckily I had another one. All the bushings in there look good. And the cover looks good. Just needs a new bushing and a seal. And that's the seal off of the pump. Which once I get that stuff, I'll have to set it down in the case to line them back up. Everything's done down in there. Got the better snap ring in it. The sun shaft bushings, the new ones are in. And they are way tighter than the ones that were in it. Way better. So as far as bushings go, I replaced the very last bushing. I used the no walk bushing in it, which is back inside there. And play was within specs. Everything else in there looked good. Got rid of the plastic washers, which I said earlier. Used the Turbo 400 retaining ring for the intermediate springs. Clutch stack for the intermediate clutches is within specs. So that's good to go. It's done from there back. The rest of it is all these parts. The best thing to do when you tear these apart is don't tear every single piece apart. Just kind of leave all the drums together and do them all at once. Because unless you've rebuilt tons and tons of these things, it might get a little overwhelming. Done a few, not a whole lot. These 4L80s done way more Turbo 400s, Turbo 350s. Done a few Power Glides. Personally, I like my Turbo 400s. Doesn't take a whole lot to make them pretty stout. 4L80 is supposed to be the same. I mean, there's minor differences. Some of the designs, I guess, are supposed to be an improvement. Some probably weren't. But that's where I'm at the moment. Waiting on a bushing. And get the pump back together. And that should be here tomorrow. And that should do it for now. Working on the 4l80 again. Made some more progress. Got the input shaft back into the overrun clutch assembly. That's all together, ready to go in. That's the boost valve out of the pump, which is not going to be used again. That is the pump bushing that was shot. It has a new one in it now. And I have the pump and the transmission all ready to go. Got a new, stiffer pressure regulator spring in it with the Sonax self-adjusting boost valve. And you notice that the pump is in backwards. That's how you line up the pump halves. So, I still need to torque the bolts. They're just snug. And once that's done, I should be able to stick the rest of it together, which would be the direct drum and the forward drum, the overdrive clutches, the overrun clutches, and the input shaft, and then put the pump in the correct direction instead of backwards, which that's not going to work too good that way. Well, I've gotten a little further on the transmission. I got all the internals inside, and the in-play is set up, and I got a plug and reverse passage for dual feeding the direct. So the case is done. I guess all the internals are done, and I've moved on to the valve body. One thing I did was plug the accumulators in the 3rd and 4th. So that's done. I used some set screws and some Loctite. That's the stock plate, which I did not use. I bought a new transgo single layer plate. I did all the modifications to the valve body that they said to do. And I compared this plate to the triple layer plate, and there was some holes that did not match up. Plugged 3 holes there, there, and there. And I drilled that one, made that one bigger, and that's the second feed's bigger, 4th feed's bigger, and I left 3rd alone. I'm just going to leave the check ball out there. Now I'm ready to install the accumulator housing under the valve body. Notice I got the springs in there, which are not going to do anything but hold the piston up inside because the feed holes are blocked off. Now my thinking, I don't know if this is right, the oil fills on this side, and I figure if there's something there, maybe it'll fill faster and it'll shift better, but maybe it's just filled as soon as it starts. I have no idea. But that was my thinking there. I'm not a transmission hydraulic circuit expert. I know a little bit, but not everything. Maybe I don't want to know everything. So, this is what I'm doing. That's still the 4th spring. That's the 3rd spring that was in it. It's going back in it. And this here, the valve body, is the brains of the operation. It's not me. I'm just doing some things I think are good ideas and not doing the things I think are bad ideas. So, I guess we'll find out. I've gotten further on the transmission. Got the valve body in, rear servo, Still need to do the tail shaft, gotta clean it, put a seal in it. Got the vacuum modulator in. And I stuck clamps on the hose instead of their zip ties they recommend. You can see there's a brass fitting it goes through. You hook your vacuum hose there. It needs to be cleaned a little better. You clean the oil pan. You got a filter, I need to get that out. And getting about done with this. And I'm waiting for this to dry. Stick some liquid tape on that. This is for the lockup. And if I didn't mention before, this is or will be a full manual shift transmission. I used some of the Transgo HD3 kit. Not all of it. I used the stuff I like out of it. I didn't use the stuff that I do not like. So when I get a little further, I'll show some more. Well, I got my transmission filter today, the correct one for that pan. And they're in the box here. Actually, I bought two. Just to have an extra one, because you never know and you might need an extra one. But that's the correct filter for this style pan. And I'll go grab the other filter and show you the differences. Alright, here's the other filter for the other style pan, which is deeper up here. It angles at the back like that. And it does not hold any more oil, so it's just kind of a clearance issue, I guess. But from here, from there to there, these filters are the same. It's just different on the bottom. It's got these three bumps on it. So it sits against the bottom of the pan. Guessing that might be the same distance there, the filter material, but that hole sticks down further on that one. This one's more flat, kind of got a ridge cut out here. So that's the one I'm going to use. Need to flop the transmission up here. Use it back in the box. Need to flop the tranny up so I can do that. That's heavy. I think I need to revise this tranny stand. Of course it turns, there's a bolt here somewhere. There's the bolt. Damn screwdriver's a little on the thin side, won't hold the tranny level. Come on, spin. It's hard to do this with holding the camera. Trying to install a bolt and hole at the same time. Of course it wants to go over center. That's a little better. On this pan, the junkyard I got this at, they poked a hole in the pan. There was no drain hole there. Or drain plug. So that looks like it'd be a good spot to make one. So I'll take this pan off. Install the filter and I can put the pan back on and I'll be done with this transmission. So it's ready to install. Which, as soon as I get a torque converter, I can start installing the engine, the transmission, the rear end, and all the good stuff in my S10. Yeah, I got the pan off. Get the filter ready to install. Excuse me. The oil on that so it slides in the rubber easy. And that's new. You just stick it on there, push down, it's good to go. Hopefully touching that modulator there doesn't cause any problems. I'll step the pan back on. It's all nice and clean. With this fancy reusable gasket. Apparently has some oil on it, which I should probably wipe off from sitting. Hopefully this transmission works right. Like I said earlier, I did a little experimenting with the valve body. Mostly the valve body plate. Of drilling some holes and plugging some holes that I felt were necessary. Now whether that causes problems or not, who knows? I guess we'll find out. But sometimes you don't learn anything by not making mistakes. So put this pan back on. It feels like it's clearing. It might stick a little pressure on it, but I don't think it'll hurt anything. I hope not. Yeah, well, guess that's that. Clean the bolts up. Tighten them all down. Should be good to go. Need a converter. Well, the bolts cleaned up. All of them are finger started. Screwed in a little bit. So make sure they're all going in their respective holes nice and straight. And clean and easy. Not at an angle, cross-threaded, so I ruin the holes. Usually there's two holes that fit tighter than the rest to line everything up, and in this it feels like this hole and that hole. I don't know if that's correct or not on a 4L80. Usually your Turbo 400s and 350s are that way. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about here, but that's what it feels like, that one and that one. It helps you line the gasket up. Alright, all the bolts are in, they're all tight. None of them are cross-threaded. None of them stripped out, so that's a good sign. Now, I just need to decide on what converter I'm going to use. I'm going to use a multi-clutch lockup converter. And what brand or whatever's good, I guess. figure something out. Also, need to do a little reinforcing on the stand. Pretty solid back there, but she wibbles and wobbles a lot. It fell off yet, that's a good sign. But hopefully this transmission works right. And if it does, I will be better known than the local prostitute. And everybody will want to come get a 4L80 from me. If it doesn't work right, I'm just going to be the local crackhead that thinks he knows how to work on a transmission. Now here's the final product. I gave it a nice shiny new coat of silver paint. And now it looks new. Guess I should have just painted it in the first place. And the hell with doing any mods to it, because it looks like it's new, right? It's like they say, it only matters what's on the inside. The outside's superficial. I think that's part. Whatever. Anyways, if you find what I'm doing intriguing, hit the subscribe button, like, comment, share, all that other good stuff they want you to do on here. And that should do it for this video. I'm getting excited. I didn't go racing this year. It's been a while. But the track was underwater earlier, and I think this weekend they're going to do some cleanup. So who knows? Hopefully it'll be open. If not, I'm going to have to travel a long ways to go racing. I guess I better not forget, I still need to install the O-ring on the shaft for the lockup in the converter. A reminder to anybody who's watching, you need that O-ring there. And a reminder to myself, who knows how long it's going to be before this is all in the truck. So, that'll do it. Peace out. Goodbye. All that good stuff. Okay, after I removed the 4L80 from the engine, or not engine stand, but it is an engine stand, the transmission stand now. If you watched the video and you paid attention, you would have seen that the tranny was flexing on there, so we boxed this in. This should make it a lot stouter. I also welded it on the side here. And a bead there and there, did down both sides. They're just having bolts in it. It was flexing a little bit, but it should be way sturdier now. I have a couple more transmissions I need to put on here sometime and get working on them.